If you're anything like me, you enjoy going out in nature, but once you get out, you don't really know what to do with yourself. Sure, you can admire the scenery, but after you get your photos and maybe eat a snack, don't you feel kind of bored? I know I do. For a long time, I felt a pressure to have some kind of spiritual experience when I'm outside, like some deep kind of connection to Mother Nature. You know, like touching a plant or feeling the breeze in your hair or grabbing a fistful of soil will let Gaia's energy course through my veins. But alas, that has never happened to me. More often than not, when I'm outside, I feel out of place and a bit uncomfortable, actually. And I think this societal expectation to have a spiritual awakening when out in nature actually prevents a lot of people from truly appreciating what nature really is. So then, what is it? Well, there is not one, but that's not a helpful answer. Now, I can't tell you how to feel or what to do when you are outside. Access to nature isn't actually the same for everybody. For instance, I was able to drive all the way out here, which is maybe 45 miles from where I live, afford the gas to come out here, and walk on uneven terrain to get to where I am making this video. And not everybody can afford that. Not everybody has access to a car. Not everybody has the same level of mobility as I do. And not everybody feels comfortable outside by themselves. So I'm not going to offer solutions to those barriers. I can't. But what I can do is maybe provide some insight into how I, as an ecologist, experience nature and make it interesting for me. I'll use this canyon behind me as an example, which is located in the Palouse Scablands of eastern Washington. It's certainly pretty. There are steep cliffs on either side with a green meadow at the bottom. I could just sit near the edge to look at the view for a bit, which might amount to some form of meditation. Now, if that sounds like a perfectly good time to you, that is 100% fine and you should do that. But again, I get bored easily. This canyon is going to look the same in 30 minutes as it does right now, but the only thing that will have changed is how much my butt hurts sitting on the ground and how many ticks might be crawling all over me. So how do I make visiting this canyon genuinely enjoyable and not some performative act to make myself feel like I'm doing something worthwhile? I'm an ecologist by training, so I approach nature by thinking about systems. I could spout off a definition, textbook style, for what ecology is, but it's really just the study of how different components of ecosystems interact with each other. Usually the emphasis is on those interactions, but we can't understand a system without understanding its individual components. So let's break down this canyon. How did it get here? Well, it was formed by the Missoula floods, which happened when a giant ice dam holding back glacial Lake Missoula gave way and let out an enormous amount of water at semi-regular intervals about 13 to 15,000 years ago. The speed and volume of the water cut deep scars into the earth across the inland Northwest, leaving behind canyons like this one in a matter of days. So when I look at this canyon, I see violence. Next, I notice the color of the canyon. Obviously, the rocks are brown, but there's a lot of green, which means plants. And there are a lot of species up here, and you don't actually need to know what they are to see that. Up on the edge where I am, it is noticeably less lush than at the bottom of the canyon, since that's where the water tends to drain to. This difference in plants means that I can probably expect to find different species of animals, particularly birds, in the different zones. Just being able to identify that habitat is different in different places is enough to know that there should be differences in species. So when I go somewhere new, I can apply that same logic and expect to find lots of cool different species. There's also a tendency to think about nature as being natural, but it isn't. So that might sound weird, but this canyon's ecosystem is also man-made. The bottom of the canyon is predominantly a cow pasture, and most of the surrounding area is either used to range cattle or grow crops. This canyon fundamentally does not resemble itself from even just 200 years ago. And when we talk about human-driven land change, it's really important to talk about who those humans actually were. I'm standing on the ancestral lands of the Palace people, but when European colonizers arrived in the mid-1800s, they brought with them Manifest Destiny and forcibly removed and persecuted thousands of indigenous people and forced them onto reservations, including the Nez Perce, Colville, and Yakima reservations. And so for me, when I look at this canyon, I think about the geologic history and I think about how that affects where different species of plants and animals live, along with how humans have influenced the ecology of the canyon, including through genocide. I can explore differently too. Maybe instead of just sitting at the top, I'll find a way down to the bottom to see what I can find. Or if I plan ahead, I might look up what plants and animals have been seen nearby and try and find them. So how do I experience nature? How do I recommend you experience nature? By thinking about ecology and history and asking questions. You can do this in the heart of a major city or at the top of a mountain, and sometimes those places aren't too far apart. Questions don't make the mosquito bites or sunburns itch any less, but they do allow you to engage with the environment beyond physically being in a place, even when you can't answer those questions. The goal isn't for going outside to feel like homework or to become an expert. It's okay not to know things and to not care to know things. Want to just empty your brain of any thoughts and breathe some fresh air? I fully support that, and I do it myself. But I think going to a place, asking questions, and searching for answers deepens an appreciation for nature that is honest. Not just aesthetic beauty, but what has arrived, what remains, and what has been lost. Thanks for watching.